Hello, my lovelies. It is Natalie with Heart's Desire Spice Blends back with easy weeknight cooking. And tonight we've got something totally awesome for you. Pulled pork that does not need barbecue sauce. Okay, maybe it's optional, but in my opinion, it does not need barbecue sauce. That's hard to do. Most of the time when you do pulled pork, you come out with something, something shredded, meat-like, but you need to dump on the barbecue sauce in order to make it actually taste like something. I've had it referred to as shredded cardboard before. And so tonight what we're doing is we are doing away with the past shredded cardboard and getting to the really great stuff that comes out of your slow cooker. You don't even need to spend a ton of time on this stuff, seriously. You just go ahead and put the rub on, put it in the slow cooker, forget about it while you're at work, come home and you have dinner. So that is totally awesome in my book. I don't know about you, but I like easy. Meanwhile, I probably better get you the recipe so you've gotten some idea of what I'm talking about. And then we will go on to the cooking. So let's do this. I've got my computer right here so I can actually see you guys. Wahoo! And so we are going to refresh page and go ahead and drop the recipe here in the comments. So tonight we are going to be using chili bowl, our chili bowl spice. We're going to be using a little bit of salt. Now, if you're on a low salt diet, that is totally optional. And we are going to use some brown sugar. And if you're on a low sugar diet, you can use substitutes. It's not that hard. So this is awesome stuff. Meanwhile, I think I have found our video. Gotta love that. Go ahead and let's let this do the thinky spiral. It's doing more of the thinky spiral. Hello. There we go. And I can now comment. We have a recipe. Score! And now I can just go over to our recipe so I make sure that I don't miss something. Classic Natalie, right? So anyway, so what we will be needing is, of course, your chili bowl spice, definitely. And this one's getting a little low. You can tell I've been doing lots of stuff with this recipe. We've been having some very yummy dinners. And I've got a new jar right in the back. So we are also going to need a little bit of salt. I like to use kosher. Why? Because it doesn't have the acrid taste of the iodine in iodized salt. And what's more, I will show you. You can see the granules. You've got a much better understanding of exactly how much you are using. That is why I like the kosher salt. That and it's less salty to taste anyway. We are going to be needing brown sugar, definitely. If you don't have brown sugar or you cannot get a brown sugar substitute, what you'll be doing is adding just a little bit of molasses to your sugar substitute. Oh. You're going to use 1 to 2 cups of broth or apple juice. Now that really kind of depends on the flavor you want. Do you want a more savory taste? Do you want a sweeter taste? Either one. You can use either one, definitely, and they'll both do wonderful things to your roast. You're also going to need a roast. Kind of necessary if you're going to do pulled pork. You need a pulled piece of pork, right? So I also have some bread back here because you know what? We also have another piece of pulled pork right back there. And we're going to shred this baby with you guys watching. So, what do we do first? Not that. What we do first is we're going to be putting together our spice mix first. Definitely. So, get yourself a nice bowl. Now this thing will have to hold over 6 tablespoons and you'll have to be able to do some mixing in there. So something about this big or bigger is going to be very, very good. Now a piece of pork about that big, no problem getting half of this to stick to it. You'll have more as a finishing blend. If you've got a big, pork blade roast, you're going to need to double this recipe, I'm thinking. Definitely you're going to need to double it. So you can do one of your recipes before you put your roast in the crock pot. You can do the next one you get home, or you can just do them both and then just let it sit next to the crock pot all day. So let's get started. What you're going to be needing, and you know what, this is the wrong set of measuring spoons for this. You're going to be needing 2 tablespoons of chili bowl. Now, this measuring spoon, this tablespoon is not going to fit. Just not going to fit. So that equals 3 teaspoons, by the way. 1 tablespoon equals 3 teaspoons. So that's 1 tablespoon, or you can just pour it out. Not quite number 2. So you can tell I've gotten used to this. There we go. Number 2. Again, I'm rolling. So that's going to go aside. We're going to keep this just in case we need a little bit more. We can do a double recipe, no big deal. We're going to need 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Why do I use salt in this, really? And the answer to that is because oftentimes, even in something sweet, you want a little bit of a salty bite to it. It also helps with the, it actually helps with the osmosis process of bringing those flavors into the center of the meat while it's cooking or while it's sitting there. So a little salt is not a bad thing unless you're super sensitive to it, in which case you don't need it. Okay, now that's 1/2 teaspoon. That's a full teaspoon, otherwise known as 1/2 tablespoon. So 1.5 teaspoons always equals 1/2 tablespoon. That's really kind of nice. If you've got a measuring spoon kit that has a 1/2 tablespoon in it, score. If you ever need 1.5 teaspoons, just go for the 1/2 tablespoon. And in cases like sometimes that your measuring spoon set will not let the tablespoon get into the jar. Well, that's when you use your 1/2 tablespoon. It's awesome stuff. And I need to cut this open. There we go. So now we are going to do 6 tablespoons. 1. Now with brown sugar, you always half it. Why? Because it does not measure loose correctly. And with all of that wonderful molasses in there, you always definitely pack this in order to make sure that the measurement is correct. And it's really kind of fun because if you do it right, you can count how many tablespoons without having to wonder if you lose track. I love brown sugar. Okay, I've got 4 in there. 5. And 6. Score. And I'm just going to use one of my measuring spoons to break this up and start stirring. Now you guys probably want to take a look at this. So I'm going to let you come here, my darlings, and take an easy look. Okay. There we go. Can you see it? It looks like it. There we are. Yes. Let me go ahead and get you down a little further. There we go. Okay, so right here is what we're looking at. And can you see that? Yes, you can. Okay. So right there is what we're looking at. And you can see that you've got an awful lot of brown sugar on top. And I'm breaking up the brown sugar. And at the same time, I can scoop from the bottom and then break it up further. And it doesn't take horribly long. You can do this with a fork without a problem. Sometimes it works even better. Sometimes you can use a whisk and it works really wonderful. Now I'm scooping this way and then using the bottom of the spoon to break up any clumps. And you know what? I'm going to go for a bigger bowl. There we go. That way I can stir with impunity. And for these bigger clumps of brown sugar here, just squish them against the side of the bowl and you get something really great. That breaks them up really nicely. And soon you're going to be coming up with a really great texture going on here. It no longer resembles just brown sugar, but it also resembles, you know, your just normal spice mix, and it's really nice. Go ahead and mixy. Break up your clumps. And this is really where pork really comes in handy. Now, throw the rest of that in there, and you're going to come back up here with me. I'm going to put you back over there a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and go over how to handle this hunk of meat right here. So normally somebody will go, okay, you just go ahead and slap that stuff on there, right? Kind of yes, kind of no. We're going to want to dry it off first. And that allows things to stick a little bit better and keeps things from just running off of the roast when it starts getting warm. So you take your paper towels and pat it dry, just like this. Now this is part of a pork loin and totally fine for use with anything like this. It is a part of the pork loin. You can do a whole pork loin. They tend to be a very excuse me, inexpensive roast, inexpensive cut of meat. Excuse me. And the shoulder blade roasts I really enjoy. And, you know, they're a very inexpensive cut of meat. You can choose how much fat is on there. We do want a little bit of fat in this. And we do want a certain amount of connective tissue, because what that does is all that collagen in the fat and the connective tissue at a certain point, at certain temperatures, will just dissolve and make a very good texture with your meat. So you do want some connective tissue and some marbling in there, or else you're going to come out with very dry pulled pork, and that's not always good. So I'm washing my hands real quick. There we are. And there we go. That is the clean one. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get our hands dirty. Yay! Okay, I like getting my hands dirty. I'm one of those kind of girls. So bring your spice mixture over here. We're actually going to reserve half of this for later, because we're going to use half of this to mix into your pork after it's done. And it's just a wonderful little finishing liquid, rub at that point. So, you know, reserve about half of it, and then we get to rub-a-dub-dub with all the other half. Go ahead and sprinkle that other half on in bits, and what we're going to do is we're going to press that onto the meat as much as it will handle. And we want as much of that rub to stick to the meat as possible, because this is your flavor when it's in the slow cooker. So this is why I say you're getting your hands dirty. You get to play with your food. Seriously. Push that stuff on in there, and it will come out looking like breaded chicken when you're doing it right. And what I'm doing here is I'm pressing a lot of those spices onto the edges, just like that, because it's already on the cutting board. Why not? Seriously. And go ahead and flip it over. There's a reason why I'm using 2 bowls for this, because obviously my hands are getting full of pork on this, and I don't want to get that into my finishing stuff yet, because that's not, your finishing spices are not always going to get fully cooked. It kind of depends on what your time looks like and such like that, and what the roast looks like by the time you get there. So go ahead and press that on in there. There we are. Now, rub it in. get it into all the little nooks and crannies that you can find. Just press it into those nooks and crannies. That's one of the reasons why I love brown sugar for this. Now, as you can see, we're already starting to get a little darker there, and that is some of the meat's natural juices kind of getting the spices and the sugar and the salt soft. You know what that means? We can put more spices on. Seriously, yum! Big yum. And the more you get on there, the happier it's gonna be later on. Ooh, get on there. Okay, we are getting happiness, and it smells so good. I wish we had smell-o-vision, seriously. Oh, yum. If it weren't raw, I'd be wanting to chow down on this, seriously. Okay, this is going to be an awesome roast. Yes. Yep, got it. I just found another nook and cranny that needs to be stuffed. Getting all that stuff up off the board that I can. And now, that beauty, I mean, look at that, seriously. That's a beaut. Seriously a beaut. Woo! Looky there. Now that is a well-rubbed roast. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm washing my hands real quick. And I'm going to put it over our crock pot. I love this little thing. It's small enough for a small roast like this and a dinner for one or two. I also have one that's a lot bigger that's built for a horde. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put our broth or you're going to be using either broth or apple juice in this, depending on how sweet or salty you want it. If you want more of that, the savory kick to your pulled pork, then add broth. If you want that really sweet kick to things, add apple juice by all means. Now, we're going to put this right in the broth, right in there. Put the lid on and let it cook for several hours. And what happens then? I've got something really great for you over here. I'm going to go ahead and clear these real quick. I'm going to go ahead and scoot you back, my darlings. And we need to clear the boards, if you will, because we've got some really great stuff coming. Go ahead and wipe my board off. What I have here is some bleach water. Definitely a must-have when you're dealing with any raw meat. Definitely a must-have. Rinse that off real quick. Give it a pat down. And toss these. There we go. Now, yummies are coming right here. This thing always reminds me of one of those, like, you know, hazmat containment units that you find on television. That's really funny. You know, Doc Brown would be very proud of that thing right there, that Instapot. Okay, I'm dating myself. Now what we have here is another one of those roasts. You guys have got to see this. Looky that. Looky that. We've taken a sample already, you can tell. And so what we're going to do, I'm going to take that out. We're going to kind of clean up our other little bowl real quick, and we're going to pour out the drippings into this nice little bowl. Pull out this. This is, you know, these drippings look wonderful. definitely a cool thing if you can use these drippings in a soup or a stew. That is called soup base, my darlings. Definitely. So put that aside for now. And we're going to put this guy back in the bowl. This is the fun and even messier part. Definitely fun and even messier. So let's let you take a look-see at that wonderful little bowl right there. And so I'm going to actually lift you guys up just a wee bit more so I can look you in the face. Score. I love it. So what we have here is our other roast after it's been cooked. And as you can see, if you take just your tongs, you can go ahead and you can rip pieces off of that with just your tongs. Now sometimes you want yourselves a fork to go with that, and I think I do. I like to make sure that these are so well done that you don't even need a fork. They just fall apart. Unfortunately, tonight I was a little bit on the rushed side, and so that didn't quite work as well. So what I'm doing is I'm using my tongs to grab pieces off of that. Let's see if I can do it with my left hand so you guys can see. Not so much. But I'm using my tongs to just scrape pieces off of that. And it can be very, very nice. Go ahead and just rip that guy up because we are going to want small pieces anyway. Go ahead and you can do a stab and twist motion. And that does very nicely. Especially if you're sticking the fork into the end grain and twisting, it does very nicely. This is definitely not an instance where I'm a lefty. Definitely not. So if your roast came out a little on the tough side, this is a great time to get your aggressions out. Okay, we are almost ready to throw this good yumminess right here on in. So we are almost fully shredded. Alrighty, look at that. We are nicely shredded. And now is the time to have fun. Go ahead and throw a good amount of that in there. And you guys have got to see how it comes together. Seriously. Gonna bring you guys a little wee bit closer. Let's see if I can get you angled down there. There we are. So, now you can see all these wonderful spices in there. You just go ahead and mix that on up, and you have a pre-made barbecue sauce going right on in there. Look at that. Oh, nice. Yes. Oh, that is looking great. So, needs a little bit more. You just go ahead and throw the whole bunch in there and stir it a little bit more. Oh yeah, look at that. That's what I'm talking about right there. You do not need any barbecue sauce with this puppy. At least not in my opinion. Now, if it's looking a little dry, you're going to take some of your drippings, just pour a little bit in there, just like that. And stir it up again. You want this to be not soaking wet, but you do want it to be moist, quite definitely moist. And so throwing a little bit of the drippings back in there is never a bad idea. Never a bad idea. I'm going to go ahead and pull some of these apart a little bit more. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there. Oh yes. Would you look at that? Now that is good looking pulled pork. Yes, me and use just a wee bit more of the drippings. This was actually a pretty lean cut. So when you have that, you know, adding a little bit more of the drippings in adds a ton of flavor. Why? You're adding some more of the fat back in. That's why. And of course, some more of those spices that actually came off the roast when it was cooking. And oh yes, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah! Oh baby. Oh baby, oh baby. Yes. That's dinner. Now is the time to break out a piece of bread and chow down. So, I'm gonna grab me my bowl, my nice clean bowl that had nothing but spices in it. Grab me a piece of bread. You guys have gotta see how this comes up. Oh yeah. Go ahead and coat that with the juices from the bottom. You guys have got to tell me that that's not good pulled pork. I dare you to try this and tell me that it's not good pulled pork. I've got a thumbs up from a lot of foodies in my family. This is awesome stuff. So from our kitchen to yours, fantastic, awesome pulled pork without the barbecue sauce and in record time. It cooks while you work or sleep. Okay, so I'm all for the easy stuff, right? So from our kitchen to yours, keep things tasty and chow down.